Hi everyone, welcome back to the Pageant Project. My next guest is Lydia Fisher, who is it's Michigan, isn't it? Miss Michigan
Michigan.
Volunteer. Want to get that right. Now, Lydia is Miss Michigan Volunteer 2025, a 26-year-old Summa Cum Laude, I never know how to pronounce that, graduate from the University of Memphis with a BFA in musical theatre. She is excited to represent Michigan on the national stage at the Miss Volunteer America Pageant this June in Jackson, Tennessee, which is only like a month away, and I will be seeing her there. With the scholarship she hopes to gain from her participation, she would love to pursue her master's degree in media and communications, with hopes of pursuing a career in media and entertainment. Her S.E.R.V.E platform is Lydia's Light, through which she raises awareness for special needs education and disability awareness. For Lydia, her outlet is singing, and we have to have a conversation about that. I was just talking to Lydia about this beforehand. We'll get into it. And she is also a volunteer for Le Bonheur Club St. Jude, S.E.R.V.E, Madonna Learning Center, and Forever Young Veterans. She's had the honor of laying a wreath at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier and advocated for the Shelby County Veterans Court on Capitol Hill. Growing up with a learning disability herself, she focuses on sharing her journey with an auditory processing disorder to empower others with disabilities to find their purpose and walk toward their dreams. Fun fact, she owns a small business that employs special needs individuals and teaches them critical job skills have used to secure long-term employment. In 2024, she received the inaugural Amherst Bedford Memorial Scholarship for raising the most money for St. Jude in the Miss Volunteer America organization. Lydia planned to keep up her efforts with St. Jude as a national philanthropy for the Miss Volunteer America organization. She is glad to be here today. I'm reading this. I'm not saying that she is. Maybe she's not, and is eager to share her story with you. Lydia, welcome to the show. That's quite a CV. How are you?
It's wonderful to see you, and a good day from Australia. This is my first international pageant interview, so just totally geeked out here.
You and me both. It's a bit bizarre to think about how many different countries I've visited sort of virtually. You MVA girls, your CVs. By the time I finish reading them out, I'm like, okay, that'll do for the interview. We don't need any more. It's pretty impressive. That's a long CV. You must keep yourself pretty busy, right?
Well, I think I get that from my mama. She has been a businesswoman for the past 30 years. She's the owner of a catering business, so got that work ethic from her. If I'm not busy, I might as well be dead. I just have to keep myself preoccupied.
I love people like that. They're like, if I don't work, I don't exist. It's like, okay, what do you do to relax? I work on something else. You mentioned your mum had a catering business. How did that manage to fare during COVID? That must have been pretty rough.
It was a bit of a struggle, but I think that allowed her to take that step back and realize like what's important and just realize that if you don't stop to take time from work, then you might miss a few things. And that was a great bonding experience for sure.
Right. So all it took for her to slow down was a world-ending pandemic.
Yikes.
When you put it like that. All right. Let's get to the not the most important thing, but the thing we were talking about. Now, you sent me your PDF resume, which is 2 pages long. In there, I
Mhm.
spied the words "sang for David Foster." Now, I'm a huge music geek, and I saw that, and I asked you before we jumped on live, is that the David Foster? Now, if you
The
don't
David Foster.
know, Lydia, you can probably explain who he is better than I can, but you need to tell me how this happened.
Well, of course, we all know those of us who do know who David Foster is. He's the one man hit show. Just every major music hit that you can name of, from Whitney Houston to Celine Dion, all the way to the band Chicago. He's responsible for all those golden platinum Grammy award winning hits. And I was very excited about this past February when he was taking his whole tour with his wife Catherine Foster to Memphis. And fun fact is, you know that he was married to Linda Thompson, who was Elvis's ex-girlfriend, right? Guess where they held the
Didn't I?
concert? Guess where they held the concert? At
I'm
Graceland,
gonna say.
his ex-wife's ex-boyfriend's home. They have this amazing venue and theater right across the street from the Graceland Mansion. And when you're here in Tennessee for Miss Volunteer America, I hope you get the chance to go visit Graceland. But
I'm flying into Memphis before I
uh,
drive to Jackson, so I don't know if I'll go past it.
you could probably make a slight detour off the interstate if you have the time. But back to the story of David Foster. I always knew that he had this long time tradition of pulling people from the audience. But what I didn't know is how most of the people that get up to sing at his concerts, they're already pretty well established singers, and I didn't realize that. I was so determined. I was like this in the audience. Just please, please, please
Me.
pick me up. Please. I want to be discovered like how who did he's discovered so many acts, but who's the singer? Josh Groban. How he discovered
All
him in
right.
a whole like. There's so many stories. He's just a book on how you define great singers. I could talk about it all day. I was whisked up by this singer who is a former member of the band The Newsboys, if you heard of them, and he was one of the plants, and he saw how badly I wanted to sing for him, and just get discovered, so to speak. And so he ushered me up there, and David Foster then saw me and said, "Where'd the girl come from?" And he just realized how badly I wanted to sing. And we all know that David Foster is an utter perfectionist. So in that moment, I just took my chance and said, "I want to sing for you so badly, and I will sing for you the Celine Dion hit. It's all coming back to me now." That literally just came back to me now. So I just sang it for him. He couldn't really sing this, he couldn't really play the song outright because he didn't have the rights to it. I didn't realize that, a lesson
Okay.
learned.
Okay.
But I was still determined to sing. He just twiddled some of the notes that he could. It just royalty reasons, we all know that. But I was just so determined, and just I didn't and he just gave me this compliment just to get that out of him. He just saw how passionate I was about my singing, how good I was pretty much singing for. You go find the video somewhere on my social media,
Ooh, I need to
and
find it.
I will send it to you, and you can
Please.
hear him say "nice." So
Wow.
I guess
That
I impressed him.
Can I just ask? I am a Celine Dion fan. It's one of the only like that was my first concert was a Celine Dion. She came to Australia. Um, it's all coming back to me now. Isn't that 7.5 minutes long?
It's a long song, but I didn't sing the whole part.
Okay,
He doesn't ask you to sing the whole song, but
I
he
was just
had to
gonna
cut
say.
me off. But I didn't sing in the right chorus that really would have showed him. But he did make a joke about that. As I was walking off. You got to pick the part of the song that's climactic, so to speak.
I can picture because I have a musical background myself. I can picture the exact part that I'd want to hear you sing, and it's right at the end of the last chorus. I
Yeah.
was going to say though, you are singing for your talent. I believe I have nothing, which is a Whitney Houston song, right? Now that song
Right.
is also like most Whitney songs, very difficult to sing. You obviously you must be an accomplished singer. You must be pretty brave to sing a Whitney Houston song as your talent.
Yes, and I have nothing. For those who read the credit lines, they know that David Foster and his ex-wife Linda Thompson, who I mentioned early on before, they both wrote that song together. An unpopular opinion, everyone knows Whitney for I Will Always Love You, but I think I Have Nothing is the defining love song of the 90s, or just timeless, really. But for so long, when it comes to my pageant journey, people have always told me, "Oh, you can never sing Whitney Houston. Nobody can sing Whitney Houston." And I can understand that you just don't want to come across doing it wrong. You never want to be able to just do it wrong. You want to be able to do it respectfully. But I just realized then and there, if I can own my skills as a singer and realize I don't have to make it sound like Whitney, I don't have to make it sound like anybody else but Lydia. And Lydia, who has a background in musical theater, who's able to learn how to emote that song properly on a pageant stage, who's able to have that technique background to just make it my own sound, make it my own. And that's the whole point. You said you have a music background. I believe that music can be recreated in multitudes of ways that are respectful and well done. And that's my whole goal of accomplishing that on the national stage. I'm not looking to be the next Whitney Houston. I'm looking to be the first Lydia. And just when you can see the kind of woman that Whitney was, God bless her soul, that she would love the young artists keep her music alive. And that's exactly what I'm trying to accomplish.
It's going to be interesting watching you perform because talent is not something that I've seen in a lot of Australian pageants. One of the reasons I wanted to go over to America to see MVA was to see a big American pageant, and so I've not seen talent before. And when someone like Berkeley does the tap dance, like I can respect it. But I have no idea what that's like because obviously I'm not a dancer. But having a musical ear, whenever anyone does something musical, I feel like I don't know if appreciate it more is the right way of saying it, but I know when it's difficult and when it's not. And to pick a Whitney Houston song or anything like that, obviously, is going to be. I mean, you sound like you sung a lot. Do you even get nervous before you perform something like that, or is that like that that's when you're in your element and you don't feel anything except excitement?
I would say a struggle I've had in the past, and what I'm really trying to hone in on and push past with this performance is to make sure that I'm not so hung up on whether or not the words sound good. It's like how some things don't go your way, and especially sometimes in an interview or just anything in general in life. Just how you can push past that and dig deep is just what I'm really hoping I can convey to those judges, and just the message of the song when I'm listening to those lyrics. Like, I have nothing. I'm not necessarily going to be singing to a guy. I'm literally going to be singing into the hearts of those judges that share my life, take me for what I am. When I go into that interview room, when I walk across that stage, sing that song in that swimsuit, this is the Lydia you're going to get. And if I'm given the honor of being Miss Volunteer America, that is exactly my message to all of America.
Can I just ask what you have to do to warm up before you perform a song like that?
I just the Carl Perkins Civic Center, when you go in there, it's like a big, large cement block, and I've competed there before. For those of you who don't know, I competed in the Miss Tennessee Volunteer Organization before I went large as Michigan. So I have experience on that stage already. There are stairwells in the back if we can sneak away and perform and warm up our voices. We don't want to do it too much because our rehearsals for talent are early in the morning, so you don't want to overstrain yourself. But I think I have a strong background already. I know what my voice can do.
And just final maybe advice you can give me as someone who uses her voice a lot, and as someone in my case who needs to talk a lot. Is it true that there are certain things that you should eat or drink and shouldn't eat or drink before you do a vocal performance because it like creates saliva or weird sound or mucus in the throat? Because I've heard all sorts of weird. One thing that I've heard is warm lemon water, but have you had any experience with these sorts of things?
I drink a lot of water already. I have this ginormous jug. I'll just pull it up for you right now. This is my water. Like, I take this thing everywhere I go, so I'm pretty well hydrated to say the least. And of course, I do love my dairy, but I agree. Don't do your dairy before you go on stage, especially before a performance. You don't want to be phlegmy, not at all.
Yeah, that's not going to be a good sound. I was going to say a good look or a good sound. Why don't you tell the people, and tell me for that matter, how you got involved in pageantry to begin with?
That journey began when I was about 6 or 7 years old. I had a very close family friend of mine who's just a stunning human being. She was a former Miss Mississippi America and former Miss Mississippi USA. She did relatively well. She got second runner up to the year after Vanessa Williams won, and all that stuff transpired. It was when Charlene Wells from Utah took the Miss America crown home. She was her second runner up. And then she was top 7 at Miss USA about 2 years later. Her name was Kathy Manning, and she was the one who sat me down to see all her beautiful crowns, all her this amazing dress she had. It was filled with rhinestones. It was heavier than me, so to speak. And I was just so enamored with the world of pageantry, especially when you were seeing clips from the 80s when pageantry in America, I would say, was really in its prime. And I think Miss Volunteer America has a goal in mind to bring that substance of pageantry back. But I just knew then and there that's what I want to do one day. I want to accomplish that, being on a national stage. And even years later, I never competed in teen. I never had the opportunity to do the teen division, but that dream was always in the back of my head. It was about 2018. I entered my very first local. It was not the easiest journey, to say the least. I was a pretty yappy kid when I was growing up with with ADHD and auditory processing disorder, but I just then, for some reason, I thought people were turned off that I liked to talk too much, that I just needed to calm myself, that I needed to just subdue myself for a little bit. And that really took away my confidence for a long time, that I just didn't feel confident enough to do the things that would have set me up for a good transition into pageantry. I really had to just get with amazing people and amazing coaches that really brought out the best of me. Like I said, they never taught you how to say exactly what they want you to say, but I was able to
Yeah.
find my message as Lydia. And that's what's been the most rewarding part of being in pageantry thus far.
That's something else that we also have in common aside from the music. I was diagnosed with ADHD last year. And similarly to yourself, when I get off on a rant, I'm a very good listener. You have to be when you're doing interview. But when I start talking, like I'm doing a video, I think, oh, I'll just do a 5-minute video. And then, 30 minutes later, here I am still, doing my 5-minute video. And I've always wondered, I think the hardest thing for me going into a pageant would be an interview, not because I can't talk, but because I love to talk and my brain kind of goes everywhere and loves to jump down the rabbit holes of tangents and things like that. Has that been a struggle for yourself at all?
Oh, to say the least, yes. Because I think every time I need to go into an interview, need to share every single detail, like I was probably doing a few times within our own interview. But that's what's so amazing about these little sit down interviews. You could just be so casual and not
Yeah.
as controlled as you think. But I just really had to just find my points and hone in on that. It's not that you're taught plan out how to speak, but you just know in the back of your brain, and it helps with those ADHD brains how you can communicate that much more effectively.
Oh, how much of a struggle has ADHD been for yourself? And I guess when were you diagnosed? Because I was only diagnosed last year. And so for me, it was a relief just to go, oh, okay, that explains. I don't know if this is similar to your journey at all, but it explains so much. Because when I was, especially like in high school and in university, it was like, I feel my brain works differently to other people. Something must be a bit wrong with me. And then you find out that you have ADHD and that there are other people whose brains work similarly to yourself. But what has your journey with ADHD been like?
I'd say I was very lucky that the age that my parents and my teachers were able to recognize that and get me properly diagnosed from a very young age. I think that was the biggest key there. And to any parents who are out there listening, it's better to recognize the signs now and go through the proper steps. If you have a young child,
Mm.
need to go through a diagnosis journey. There's no shame in going to a psychiatrist to talk through with your child. That way you're not asking questions when it's too late and they don't have those tools and necessities to be able to thrive in a classroom. And my school, if you saw on my resume, it's called Hutchinson School. They had really great psychiatrists and teachers and counselors that gave me the extra time on the tests that helped give those extra office hours to me. And for a time, I actually resented those office hours because I just thought in my brain and those frustrations, why can't I just have a normal brain? Why can't I finish a test on time willingly like everybody else? But I just was so grateful years later as an adult that I had those precautions and skills put into place from an early age. That way I could be very successful in college. I went from being a BC student at Hutchinson
Yeah.
to being summa cum laude at Memphis. And that's because of a college preparatory education I was very lucky to receive.
I don't know if this is the case in America, but I know that here in Australia, women, young women in particular, are very underdiagnosed when it comes to ADHD. Because now I used to be a tennis coach. When you have a young boy that has ADHD and he's holding a tennis racket, it's very easy to tell. Again, cliche stereotype, but if he's running around whacking people, other kids with a tennis racket, you begin to think a certain way because that's one type of ADHD. I think it's the hyperactive. But with the inattentive type, which is more common in women, it's not that they're running around. Someone described it as a hyperactivity is turned inwards. And so I was listening to your interview with Berkeley, and you mentioned that it wasn't like you were running around like a mad person, but it was more like you'd be paying attention to other things. And that's harder to spot. So how was it that they were able to spot that in you? Because it's very easy for that to just slip and go unnoticed. Because people just go, oh, she's daydreaming.
Oh, well, that's what they literally said. Lydia is a very bright student, but she's always looking out the window. She's not. Another sign that they noticed with me is I did not know how to use scissors at the time, right? And I didn't know how to color inside the lines, but I think knowing that I don't color inside the lines is pretty much what makes Lydia Lydia. But I just had very good teachers, and I just give them a lot of credit for that and those memories that I have of having ADHD from a very young age, and just like at the first I just didn't feel that much shame, but as I was into my teenage years and you just feel that comparison that, oh, I'm not going to be that big honor roll student, I'm not going to receive those ginormous scholarships, but it doesn't mean I'm not trying hard. Like
Yeah.
my focus is there. I just think, well, why not this way, why not that way? I'm that girl who always says why.
I say why a lot. I also say why not an awful lot. Just if there's someone watching, particularly a young woman who may think that she has ADHD, because not every. I love hearing your story because it sounds like you had amazing teachers. That for me has doesn't always happen. I don't even know if it happens most of the time. So if there's a young woman watching and she thinks there might be something similar with herself, can you describe? I don't know if it's the feeling like that. Were there certain patterns you noticed in yourself? I know you mentioned the scissors and not coloring them, but were there certain things that you struggled with that you could tell someone, hey, if you're struggling with this, maybe it's time to have a conversation with a mental health professional?
Well, it goes back to your gut feeling. My experience differs because it was caught by adults who could speak for me and advocate for me at that young age. And
Right.
it can be different for women who are now in the adult age. I've had multitudes of friends, especially in pageantry, who got diagnosed 2 or 3 years ago. But
Mm,
overall, my message to them would be, you are your strongest advocate. Nobody knows your body more than you. And we all know that there is a problem, especially with healthcare right now, where people think that you're making this up, that people
yeah.
think that ADHD is super overdiagnosed. And while that can be true to a certain extent, it's not fair to dismiss people for that either.
Yeah, it's 100%. It might be overdiagnosed. It doesn't mean that the person you're speaking to doesn't have it. Both things can exist simultaneously.
The
Let
brain
me
is the brain is a fascinating organ, to say the least.
Yeah, I sometimes wonder if people could live inside other people's brains, they might judge each other a little less harshly. But can I take you back to your resume, the one that I was reading out, because there's a lot in it. And it's very impressive if I look at it, particularly from a philanthropic point of view. You've obviously done a lot of work. Before we dive into that, can I just ask what motivates you in that direction? Because a lot of people are motivated and they go and work on a business, which you have as well. But you seem to have spent a lot of time on philanthropic work and volunteerism, which obviously is at the heart of Miss Volunteer America. Why? Like, what does volunteering mean to you?
Volunteering to me, it was something that was for me because, like I said, academics was something I tried my best in, but it wasn't going to necessarily be my thing. That's why I turned to volunteerism and being a part of your community. We could talk more about my business later with Pony Pucks, but I was so drawn to the community for people with disabilities. I was drawn to this amazing school that a family friend's daughter, her name was Elizabeth Ann, was a student at. So I was approached by the executive director of Madonna Learning Center to partner my small business with their adult continuing education program, and just seeing how you can be a service and it can inspire more than just being in a classroom and being out in the community, people of multiple different viewpoints. It can inspire you and make you much more of a humble person, and Miss Volunteer America inspires young women to do that. My whole motivation with community service came well before going after an
Yep.
amazing title and crown such as that. And just it gives you purpose. It makes you want to wake up every day and say, how can I impact somebody? And that's been my whole priority. My favorite song is Bobby Brown's My Prerogative. That's been my whole prerogative since at the age of 14. And I'm 26 now. I'm going to be turning 27 3 days after finals. No, 4 days. My birthday's June 25th. But so happy early birthday to me. But I can just say that I've just felt so proud of the work I've done. And it's something that I, as an individual, have been able to jumpstart change in my community.
One of the reasons, Lydia, that I was so interested in the Miss Volunteer America organization is, I mean, it literally has the word volunteer in the name. And I thought many other pageants either focus too much on the glam and there's no work, there's no focus on the actual work. And then there's other pageants which focus a lot on the work, but without the glam side, a lot of the time there's not anyone who's interested in it. And I thought, here's a system that, that has both. What was it like for yourself? Because obviously in Tennessee or in America, you have your choice of, God, I don't know how many pageants, right? Not all are big, but there's hundreds of them. What was it like when you found a system that promoted the volunteering aspect so heavily? I mean, was it like a feeling like coming home? You found your place?
You could say that. I had competed in previous systems before, and I just didn't feel that what they were looking for catered to who the type of contestant I wanted to be. I was someone who wanted to get up on stage and sing. I was somebody who just loved to go out and volunteer her community. And I always felt welcomed within the volunteer system well before I even stepped foot on that local stage. And I came into pageants right when the time of the Miss America split and the Miss Volunteer America split,
Yeah.
or the founding of Miss Volunteer America came about with Miss Tennessee Volunteer and how they originally intended to have it as a state pageant, and it just grew into a whole movement into what it is today. And I just was always welcome no matter what system I chose. I know you've had Christine on and how she talked about how every contestant, no matter what system they choose, always has a place here. And it just makes me feel right at home that I don't need to be anything but Lydia. I don't need to be this type of Barbie, that type of Barbie. I'm just someone who has a heart for serving others and just wants to share with all of America.
Tell me more about your business. I think you mentioned it there. Was it Pony Pucks?
Yes. So another fun fact about me is on top of the singing and the theater, all the things I did, I was a pretty avid equestrian. I had my own horse. Her name was Carrie. So I had to come up with a way to fund those expenses. And my parents, I mentioned they owned a catering business. So I had all those resources needed to mass produce pony pucks. And it just was something that started as little gifts one Christmas to all the local barns, and people were just in demand for those. They said, you should make this a business. All of us Fisher kids had to have their own businesses. My brothers sold sandwiches out to local booty shops, anyone who would buy them. So for me, I had to make horse treats. And it became so well in demand, I couldn't keep up with it. And thus, that is how I got introduced to Madonna Learning Center and how I was able to help them teach them how to create the pony pucks. And with every retail sale I made, a percentage would go back to the school to fund their education.
I feel like I'm getting an insight into why you work so hard now. It's because you pick hobbies that are very, very expensive. Pageantry is not cheap. Horse riding or having a pony, from what I've heard, is not cheap. I mean, is this why you work so hard to be able to afford your hobbies?
Hey, us, like they say, us Gen Z kids are lazy. I dispel that rumor. I dispel that narrative.
I mean, do you have any free time? I feel like I should ask. Do you have any free time? And if you do, how do you spend it? Like, how do you relax?
See, well, especially with the prep leading up to Miss Volunteer America, on top of just working as a sales associate right now for Orange Theory, I just sleep or go to the gym. That's all I do. Sleep, gym, eat. That is just my way to unwind. I'm pretty simple when it comes to that. But I think after Miss Volunteer America, I think I deserve a pretty good vacation.
I completely agree. Let me ask you, where, again, going back to your resume, there's so many parts of it. Where, and having ADHD, one of the things is you can be passionate about so many things. It's very difficult to nail them down. But do you have an idea as to, and I know you do, but what's the plan for you, if there is one, like a year out, 3 years out, like 5 years out? Let's not go further than that. And let's say you do happen to be fortunate enough to have the MVA crown placed on your head in a month's time. What's the plan, let's say, for the next year?
Well, especially if I'm given the opportunity of having that crown and sash on past this June into the next year, I would be given that generous $50,000 scholarship that Allison and her team have been so amazing to give. That, and I want to use that scholarship to go back to grad school. I have the undergrad degree of musical theater, and I think that showed that I can complete a degree because we didn't think that I would be even able to go to college. My brother joked at my college graduation, to think we didn't think she'd even go to college. And there I was with a Summa Cum Laude degree. And just through my experiences now with pageantry and media and communications, doing things I didn't think I would be able to do that made me feel so empowered that I want to go back to school and pursue a degree in mass communications, media, and public policy. That I don't have any ambitions to run for public office one day, but I would love to be a vital asset to someone's campaign. You could see me being maybe a major reporter on Fox News. Who knows? The possibilities are very much endless, and it's because of organizations like Miss Volunteer America. If you ever have Alexa Knutson again, ask her about what the dreamer mentality means to her, because that's what Miss Volunteer America does for me.
What was it like when you stepped on that stage for graduation and you were graduating summa cum laude as someone who, had the ADHD, you had a learning disability. I think you also had the auditory processing disorder. I don't want to misspeak, but what did it feel like? And even when your brother jokingly said, we never thought, you'd make it here, and here you are, not just graduating, but graduating at the top. How did that feel? Did you take that in?
We took it. It was very non-traditional because we had to graduate in the football stadium at the University of Memphis because of COVID. So we had all the
Oh,
masks, all the social distancing things were still in place. But it was just so rewarding to realize that I made that happen. Nothing can stop me, and I can just take that accomplishment. I have that degree just sitting on my wall somewhere, knowing that I can complete a degree when people thought that that wasn't possible for me.
what do you think a young girl looking up to you is going to think of you in terms, like, what are the qualities that you think are standing out? Because for me, I mean, as I've interviewed so many people, but I'm getting obviously you're a driven motivation, driven individual, highly motivated, yet not just selfishly looking out for herself. You're obviously interested in helping other people, serving other people. What do you think a young girl looking up at you is going to think of Lydia?
It's to those little girls that are out there, and I've been very blessed to be a role model to them personally. How if you just find that thing, just that one special thing that gives you purpose and makes you want to wake up every day. One day it may just be volunteerism for me, or maybe it's the fact that I get to go sing somewhere and hopefully get paid for it. You just got to find that thing that makes you driven. And I have a lot of things clearly that make me driven, and it's just something that has always kept me going.
Obviously, you're in prep mode, deep in prep mode at this stage, and you've been to this pageant before. What are you most looking forward to this time round?
I think just the one thing I'm really hoping to get out of this, that I can really get out of my own head this time. I can think back to Maddie Marsh talking about how she wanted so badly before she won Miss America was to win the experience. As you've seen clearly through this interview, I'm a very driven person, and then with my how I would always want things to be perfect and go a certain way, but what if certain things don't go my way? How am I going to react to it? Am I going to lead like I would lead on my girls, my fellow state title holder sisters? I would just be calm that this is God's plan. This is how He intends it to happen. I'm just going to let it happen and just let things that are out of my control be out of my control, just to let it be. That's my main priority.
Have you ever worried about, I mean, obviously you work hard, you're driven, you love to talk. I think you communicate well. There's a difference between talking too much and communicating well. But let me know, have you ever struggled with feeling like you're too much for other people? Like you talk too much, you're too loud, you're too driven, and it would be better, Lydia, if you just was a bit more normal, a bit quiet. And have you ever struggled with that?
I think for little Lydia, that is something that she didn't realize very on, that she thought she was too much, so she had to make herself small. But now, as we grow up, our whole perspectives change as we get older, and we start to becoming thinking that we're not if we don't do this right, it's never going to be enough. And especially as someone who is one of the state title holders for an up and coming organization, I always want to make it my priority to show up and give 120% to this organization, because they welcome me with open arms and just expect me just to be who I am. At the same time, I just want to give so much more. And whenever I think I'm not doing enough, there are those little moments that pop up and you realize, yes, I am doing enough. I don't need to keel over myself just to prove that. All I'm doing is just showing up, and that's enough.
Well, I think you're taking after Berkeley in terms of how much work you're doing. I mean, that girl never stops. I don't know how many flights she's taken, but
Oh,
I mean, girl lives on protein bars, and there's a reason for that,
the
because it
blueberry
takes a
protein
moment to.
bars.
I don't know how she does what she does without keeling over. Can I ask about St. Jude? This is something that hadn't heard about before I became involved with the Miss Volunteer America organization. Berkeley talked about it. Haley talked about it. I didn't really get a chance to speak to Bailey about it. But I think from hearing one of your old interviews your interview with Berkeley, you mentioned that the headquarters, I think you said, for St. Jude is literally in your backyard or something. So tell the audience more about St. Jude and the work that it does and your involvement.
Yes, St. Jude is an internationally recognized major children's research hospital. It's located here in Memphis, Tennessee. It was founded in 1962, I believe, by Danny Thomas. And quick little side note, when I was picking out my at-large title, I had a multitude of options, but the one that stuck out to me was, of course, Michigan. And guess who was born in Michigan that has a connection to St. Danny Thomas, the man who behind it all, who just was, he was this star, he was this struggling entertainer. He was struggling to make ends meet, and he just prayed to the Saint Jude Thaddeus, you give me the success I need, and I will build a shrine to you. St. Jude was that shrine. He's just like everyone. Once he achieved that height of success, he knew what he was about to do by creating St. Jude, by calling on multiple Lebanese, Arabic, Syrian individuals of business and influence to help create what we now know as ALSAC, which is the major fundraising body for St. Jude, as well as getting multiple celebrities involved in fundraising for the hospital. Elvis Presley was involved in raising money for the hospital. And just while St. Danny Thomas at the time was a major celebrity, and people would probably think, oh, he's an actor. What does he know about medical care? And why would we listen to him about creating something that couldn't be done? People thought that this wasn't possible, to create a hospital that wouldn't ask a single bill of these families that receive treatment. And now it's just grown into a whole movement that allows families from all over the world to bring their child to receive life-saving care. Last month, I did get an amazing glimpse into St. Jude on behalf of our liaison. Her name is Beth Moore Perkins, and just seeing that how much of a peaceful place, even though there's so many things going on behind the scenes for those children who are some of the bravest individuals you will ever meet, the fact that every cent that I have made an effort to raise is going towards those families, it's something that just shows the power of you is enough, just like Danny Thomas set out to do all those years ago.
When you said that, have you had a chance to visit St. Jude itself and to sort of, I don't know if it's possible, go to the hospital? I can see you nodding your head. What was that like?
It was, when I stepped in there, Memphis is a pretty loud city, but when I came across the threshold through the security and just seeing the campus itself, it's just the most peaceful place you can ever be. And just seeing how there's people, researchers, fundraisers, amazing people that are all part of the same mission, and just seeing all the fruits of Danny Thomas's labor just grow. It used to be just a hospital in the shape of a star, and now it's practically the size of a small city. It's amazing to see what it's been. And for them to open those doors and give us state title holders a glimpse into that world, we are not allowed to go to a certain spot where the families are receiving treatments because of COVID protocols and making sure, looking out for the wellness of the patients. But to be given that opportunity and seeing a place I drive past every single day and seeing how the ins and outs work, it's something I'll take with me for the rest of my life. And I'm grateful for that opportunity.
Did you say that the families at St. Jude don't have to pay a single bill at all?
None. Housing, food, medical care. They even receive little gifts. If they forget something from home, like there's a certain amount of our fundraising, say about $25, $50, it can pay for utilities for those families if they get something at home.
But I come from Australia. The healthcare system is somewhat different. But knowing the little I do about how much American healthcare can cost, to have a hospital that doesn't charge a single bill, so it's fully funded off fundraising, is it?
Like fundraising, I believe they have grants as well, and just you think, like when I found out that most of the I don't know if this is allowed to be repeated, but just you think that there's like over hundreds of people of young children receiving treatment there. There's maybe close to 60 beds that they have for people to use, because what makes St. Jude unique, it's a research hospital, and how you have to go through certain protocols to be able to receive treatment, and how they can make sure they can give you the right treatment possible. And it's amazing how we receive the detailed in and outs and what they could share with us.
I mean, that's amazing. I had no idea it was. I mean, we have similar systems set up here, but I don't think anything quite as spectacular and so generous. That's an amazing story to hear. I'm glad I asked. When you look back, I mean, I don't want to make it sound like you've lived a long life. I mean, it sounds like you have, but I mean, you've accomplished a lot, and obviously you're always on the move. Is there one moment or one accomplishment that you look back, whether it's this year or the previous years, you look back and go, that is a thing that I'm most proud of?
It's still connected to St. Jude, but I have to say, running the St. Jude Half Marathon, it's their biggest fundraiser of the year. People from all over the country and all over the world come to Memphis, Tennessee, the first Saturday of December to run the marathon. They have the 5K, the 10K, the half marathon, the full marathon. And I wasn't feeling brave enough to go for the full marathon this year, but I plan on doing it this December. This year, I'm going for the big one. But I was just so nervous going into it, because I didn't think that I had put in enough training compared to the previous year. So I was just thinking that just gonna take it at my own pace, just see what happens. But what inspired me and really helped get me through, and I was really proud of the whole sisterhood aspect with Miss Volunteer America. I got a group of my state sisterhood queens, and we haven't even met each other at this point. I just asked, hey, does anyone want to be in my text thread and cheer me on? Because there's an app that people can follow me as I'm running through the course. And it was like, some people were up at 6 a.m. to watch that little dot run on the app and watch me, and they were cheering me on all the way. And guess what happened? I shaved my time off 13 minutes compared to the last year. And just to run
Wow.
across that finish line with all those people, knowing that I've raised that money, I have done all the things I can for those kids at St. Jude. I'm not just going to be standing on the sidelines cheering people on. I'm going to be part of the action.
Are you a runner?
I did not used to be a runner. My whole thing when I was little, I said, Mom, I do not sweat. I'm going to ride my horse. and just, but it was when I got into college, I really got into physical activity and how it can be so beneficial for my ADHD. I was originally medicated, and I had great doctors who did encourage me that if I get to the point when I get to college, I want to come off of the medication. They said, go for it, find what works for you.
Yeah.
And through physical activity, through running, it just helps calm my brain. It makes me more focused and ready for the day. That I need, like, that's my addiction. I need to go work out, or I'm not going to be able to bodily function. But being able to realize I can run those half marathons and potentially the full marathon, I can do those hard things. And I'm proving little Lydia wrong on another thing as well, that we do like to sweat now, and just to sweat for the kids of St. Jude by running through these hard courses, up these hills, up on that concrete. It's possible for you.
Oh, so it's not a flat run. It has
Oh
some.
no, like Memphis is the bluff city. We have little tiny hills, and then we're running through neighborhoods, and then we got to run over this bridge that goes right past the hospital. And the hardest, it's those last 6 miles that really get you, when those shin splints start to sit in, and you have to really. And I made that mistake. I ran in shoes that I had just bought the day before. What was I thinking? I was not making good decisions. I was not trained well enough, I thought, but hey, it still paid off. And I was running in shoes I had not broken in yet.
This is this is That's sometimes what happens when you're a bit when the ADHD spontaneity kicks in and you just decide you're going to do something and you haven't really thought through it, and then an hour into it you're like, why didn't I break in my shoes? I mean, how bad was it? I mean, you're a seasoned pageant competitor. Was it worse than the feet after pageant week? Because sometimes that doesn't work out so well for your feet either.
My nails were screaming.
Did you have any toenails left?
Oh, they're still hanging on, just barely.
Okay, so we've been on for a while. Just before we move to the close, I always like to finish with the same 10 questions. I like to give you guys an opportunity to shout out anyone who's been an integral part of your team. And I'm sure, I mean, you're obviously motivated and driven, but there must have been some people who you'd like to give some thanks to. So shout outs to anyone?
Shout out to the best coach, the best pageant coach around. Her name is Mary Marsha Riley. She's here in Memphis, Tennessee. She's someone who knows how to give it to me sweetly and give it to me a little bit more harshly because I need to hear it. And and there are times in this interview that I had gotten a little rambly. She knows how to help me tone it down and communicate effectively. So I give her a lot of kudos to that. And she's also helping me get in shape and is a top-notch fitness coach. And she's a former Miss Tennessee International as well. So she knows what she's doing. She can do things virtually. She can do things in person. She's a literal superwoman and super mom to my little bestie, Savvy Joe Riley. So shout out to them.
It's like a bit of tough love.
She's just tough love. She does that tough love, but she's also someone I can go to for anything.
That's what we need, a bit of tough love, and then also a supportive shoulder when we need that too. Okay, so let's go through these final 10 questions. We'll see if I can remember them because it's been a while. Number 1, what is your favorite word?
Impossible, because I'm possible. To quote Audrey Hepburn.
Number 2, what is your least favorite word?
No, because I'm going to turn that into a yes.
I've had a few people answer that question with that answer, the no, and it's funny because you all have the same look on your face when you say the word no. It's like, you know, when the naughty child gets told no, and then they like pout, and exactly the face you just pulled there, it's always accompanied by that face.
I'm the baby of the family. I'm the baby single only daughter. I get my way.
I'm the eldest of the family. I have no idea what you're talking about. Number 3, in life, what gets you excited? What turns you on?
What gets me excited is getting to perform on stage, which I'm very excited to do in the next month when I hit the Miss Volunteer America stage with that beautiful production, with that music swelling, and it's just all going to come together.
What turns you off?
Flakes. People who flake me, because if you're going to be committed, you better be committed to me.
I can imagine with your timetable, you don't look too kindly on people who are flaky.
I'm like that Judge Judy meme where she's looking at the watch like.
Question 5: what sound or noise do you love?
Tap shoes. I love that. I'm not the best dancer. I went to college for musical theater, but nothing will get me better than the sound of tap shoes, like Berkeley's, for example.
Number 6: what sound or noise do you hate?
Loud chewing.
There's you mentioned the auditory processing disorder. I found out that I have something similar, but where certain sounds really trigger me. And I have found that loud chewing will do it. I interviewed one girl who said loud chewing made her cry. She couldn't even stand the sound of her own chewing. So you're not alone on that one.
And sometimes it can soothe me or annoy me, but also humming would annoy me growing up with auditory processing disorder.
I think it depends if they're humming in tune or not for myself. If they're humming in tune, it's great. If they're humming out of tune, not so great.
See, me being a singer, you're flat.
I'm a violinist, so I have perfect pitch. So when people are out of tune, it actually causes me to jump. And people used to make fun of me and say, you shouldn't do that. It's rude. It's like, I can't help it. I have a physical reaction. Number 7, if you could have any one superpower, what would you pick and why?
Ooh. I guess this makes sense with being a singer, but I'm a bit of a Marvel Comics, DC Comics fangirl nerd, and if I were to be like any superhero, it'd probably be like Black Canary, and she has this ability to sing as well as have supersonic screams. So that'd be really cool to try.
I hope when I'm listening to you sing, I don't have that. I don't have that happen. I know Black Canary. I don't want to have be blown away by the singing. Not in that. Not in that way. Anyway. Number 8. What job would you most like to attempt?
Uh, I'd say I would love to be a host on Fox News one day. And especially, should I be crowned Miss Volunteer America, I'm hoping to see major media interviews like that happen for the next girl on Fox, on CNN, on even the Today Show. I'm hoping that that will be a turning point for the organization, that we are a force to be reckoned with and we are present, especially in the media.
What job would you definitely not like to attempt?
Sewage worker. That goes without saying.
I might have heard that one before as well. I don't think we need any explanation for that one.
No.
Final question. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
But wasn't my plan really good? Wasn't it worth trusting in? And just thank you so much for always being kind to my young children, and just realizing that everything, just recognizing all the beautiful flaws that I give to you and to everybody around you, and how you're able to recognize that. And thank you so much for always being kind to them.
Well, Lydia, it's been a blast. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me, and I can't wait to hopefully meet you next month. You'll be coming to visitation, right?
I have all these weird and wonderful things I didn't know. I was messaging Christine. I'm saying, what's this? What's that? Again, in Australia, you buy one ticket and it's for the one competition on one night. And then when I got because I kept asking Christine, when are the tickets coming? When are the tickets coming? Because I didn't want to miss out. Because, if you're flying from the other side of the world to attend the pageant and then you can't get tickets, that's not really optimal. And so the tickets finally came on sale, and it was like, there's a ticket for this, but there's also a ticket on the same night for something else. And then there's this Queen's Ball, this and this. So I have tickets for everything. I don't know if that includes visitation, but if there's a ticket for it, I have it. I think I have like 7 tickets or something. So then you will see me there.
The math is mathin'. The math is mathin'.
Yeah, okay. So I don't know what that is. I asked Christine. I can't remember what she said, but I know I bought a ticket. So I will see you definitely somewhere.
It's an opportunity to see the contestants after the prelims.
Okay. All right. Will you guys
come
all
look
be
for me
really...
under the Michigan delegation.
will you guys all be really happy, or will you be stressed out of your minds judging how...
That's the best time. That's when we see our families.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't want to interrupt family. I'll be there minding my own business. I think one of the things that I wanted to do interviewing a few of the Volunteer America contestants is, like, when I go there, like, at least I know some people and not be a complete stranger in the room, like, who's that guy with a funny accent? But I'm sure I'll see you there. And best of luck. I can't wait to hear your talent.
I can't wait to see you, and I hope you are able to patch yourself some Memphis barbecue when you stroll into town.
Yeah, Christine gave me that recommendation, so we'll make that happen. All right, Lydia, thanks for your time, and thanks everyone for watching, and we'll speak to you again soon.